Hello everyone and welcome back to Around the World in 80 Planes. In this flight, Flight 9, I'm going to fly the Spitfire from Glasgow, Scotland to Dublin in Ireland. And oops, I have to turn off X camera for my normal control. This plane is actually made by the same person who made the Avro Vulcan in the previous flight. And it's modeled really well. I mean, and again, it's freeware, so I packed, oh yes, I have the external tank, that's that round part at the bottom there. I decided to pack some extra fuel because the Spitfire doesn't have a huge range and I want to be able to go fast. So anyway, we are continuing the Apollo 12 audio, which again I've cut out the silences that are more than a minute long, and I'm skipping ahead because the PAO replayed the ingress into the LEM once again, and so I'm gonna pick up where they're just about to end that replay and then proceed from there. So let's get the audio started.
Jerry, I think some comments for the folks
Very good.
at home. We've enjoyed doing this for them.
And a little bit of
All
flap,
three of us are good spirits. We're feeling great. We've exercised.
and
slept
let's
well.
go.
The food's been good. We have lots of nice cold water to drink, and we're sure enjoying the scenery. However, I'll tell you one thing.
Oh, I might
we
have
do miss the good people back home.
you gotta be careful with tail draggers. I might not have been careful enough.
We really enjoyed
Okay,
your
it's off the
tour
ground.
down
We're
to
safe.
the
We're
lunar
safe.
module. Glad to see you guys are looking so good.
I'm not good
You're
with
sounding
tail
great,
draggers.
and, we'll be seeing you later.
Delivery is not exactly a British delivery, is it? Is it?
Very good.
I don't know. Is it Denmark?
This is
I don't
Apollo
know.
Control at 72 hours 44 minutes.
Anyway, British plane
All
in
still
general.
going well with Apollo 12. 5 hours 15 minutes remaining in the sleep period. Apollo 12 is 24,880 nautical miles from the moon, approaching it at a velocity of 3,618 feet per second. This is Mission Control Houston at 72 hours 45 minutes.
Okay, I don't want the boost to be in the red area. We want to have max continuous power. And I want a quicker flight than last time. Last time was a very long flight and I want to make up for that. But we'll do a flyover of Glasgow on the way out. Since we didn't fly over the city center.
This is Apollo Control at 73 hours 18 minutes. All still going well with Apollo 12. 4 hours and 41 minutes remaining in the sleep period. The only crewman being monitored at the present time is the command module pilot, Dick Gordon. His heart rate is running around 65.
Flaps over
his
speed.
normal
Oh, I had the
sleep
flaps
heart
up.
rate.
I did.
Surgeon reports.
You saw me raise them. Jeez.
Apollo 12 is
Again, it's on an
23,681
axis. So I guess it
nautical
read the
miles
axis
from the
wrong
moon,
or something.
approaching at a velocity
It should be
of
alright though.
3,634 feet per second. This is Mission Control Houston at 73 hours 18 minutes.
I got one of these throttle quadrants, the only thing beside my joystick, and I decided to use the second and third levers because my SciTech joystick already has two axes for throttle, and I've got them on mixture and propeller pitch. The new throttle quadrant has 2 extra, except for the throttle itself. Oh, it's leaning to the left a lot. I decided to make them the flaps in the gear.
This is Apollo Control
So
at
far,
74 hours 18 minutes.
That has had problems, apparently.
Apollo 12 is 21,544 nautical miles away from the moon. Velocity has increased to 3,666
Make sure the
feet per
flaps
second.
are off.
Systems performance still normal. We have 3 hours 41 minutes remaining before we put in a call to awaken the crew. If they awake on their own before that time, we may expect to hear from them. At 74 hours 18 minutes, this is Mission Control Houston.
So this is Glasgow proper. I don't know any of the landmarks, or if we even have the landmarks per se. I know the roads should be right, and the ground textures should be right. Overall looking good. Frame rates are a little bit choppy. Do I have the 3? Yeah, I do. Let's maybe reduce that a little bit. Well, that basically eliminated the auto-gen.
75 hours, 18 minutes.
So now you can see the photo scenery buildings.
It's 19,371.
Even the PAO is
miles
choppy
from the
right
moon.
now.
Velocity 3,705.
I've done a lot of
feet per
aileron
second.
trim to stop this roll, but it keeps wanting to roll
Okay,
left.
Continuing to go well.
And
we're
that's
2 hours
because of the
41
flaps more
minutes
than
away
the
from
propeller
true wake-up
torque
time.
right now.
This is Mission Control Houston at 75 hours, 18 minutes.
I think it decided to kill the flaps in an asymmetric way. Okay, we are proceeding on to Dublin. We'll fly over the Isle of Man along the way. See about the wind. It's against us. Well, that's at high levels, though. Not going so high. It's pretty much the same at low levels.
This
Basically
is Apollo
about
Control at
45
76
knots.
Hours, 18 minutes. Apollo 12 is approaching the moon at a velocity of 3,751 feet per second. Distance from the moon now, 17,180 nautical miles. We plan to put in a wake-up call to the crew 1 hour, 41 minutes from this time. This is Mission Control Houston at 76 hours, 18 minutes.
Seems like we have a wind farm up ahead. Lots of wind turbines. Wonder if it's on the map. Funny, we just flew over something called Jackton Master Plan. Okay. Huh. Up ahead, this seems to be Eaglesham Moor. So, hopefully there are, in fact, wind turbines on the Eaglesham
This
Moor.
is Apollo Control at 76 hours, 46 minutes. The flight dynamics officer has just informed Flight Director Jerry Griffin that based on his latest update, he confirms positively now that no mid-course correction number 4 will be required. The magnitude of that maneuver is only 2 feet per second. We have been operating for the past
You'd have to be
number of
pretty
hours on
picky
the
to
assumption
require
it
that,
would
yeah.
not be performed, and on that basis had extended the sleep period 2 hours shortly after it began. We're now 1 hour 13 minutes from the wake-up period of the extended sleep period, 10 hours instead of 8 hours. The mid-course correction number 4 will be incorporated into the lunar orbit insertion maneuver number 1, and Flight Dynamics reports that that burn will be targeted to produce an orbit, a lunar orbit of 62 by 169.3 nautical miles. His latest update shows
You know, I
that
packed
the
it full of
closest
fuel, but the fuel
approach
gauge seems
to the moon
set at halfway.
without the lunar orbit insertion burn will be 64.73 nautical miles. That would occur at an elapsed time of 83 hours, 28 minutes, 32 seconds. And the velocity at closest approach would be 8,239 feet per second.
Oh,
At 76 hours, 48 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston.
I don't know, there's this other fuel gauge to the right in pounds, and one in gallons down there. One of them is probably fuel flow, but I can't tell. It doesn't say. Oh well. Yeah. Well, hopefully we're okay. We only need an hour.
This is Apollo Control. It's 77 hours, 18 minutes. Apollo 12 is 14,967 nautical miles from the moon. Its velocity 3,811 feet per second. We're 41 minutes away from wake-up time. This is Mission Control, Houston.
And they should be making orbit around the moon shortly after wake-up time. So we're approaching day 4 in the audio.
This is Apollo Control. It's 77 hours, 45 minutes. 14 minutes remains in this sleep period, but we have indications that the crew is awake. Communications officer reports that he can see through telemetry that they have configured their communications equipment for voice transmission, so we may be hearing from the crew prior to the official wake-up time. We'll keep this circuit up live for any communication we may get from the crew.
I seem to recall them doing Reveille at some point. Is that now? Or some other morning call?
Still no word from the crew, and we're 5 minutes away from the time that we'll initiate a call to them. Apollo 12 is 13,615 nautical miles from the moon. Velocity 3,856 feet per second.
Aha, yeah. These guys, I swear. We're still over Scotland. Well, actually, Northern England, maybe? No, Scotland.
There was an antenna switch right at the start of that bugle call. If we don't hear from them shortly, we're liable to play it again.
Oh, they're playing it. Okay. I tell you. Everybody's doing all sorts of hijinks. I thought the spacecraft had decided to play it. So yeah, these are the lowlands of Scotland. the Glenkins, I think. Oh man, we need to turn far more to the right. The southern uplands, because there are hills here. Actually, I should say, I don't know what qualifies as a mountain. Was it 1,000 meters? It's about 2,000 feet right now, so something like 600, 700 meters, these guys. We need to go more like towards that smoke.
Apollo 12, all press the counter for sir.
There we go.
Roger, 12.
About time.
That was Dick Gordon responding.
Somebody had commented that they had listened to the Apollo 11 tapes. This is on Twitter. Commented that they had listened to the Apollo 11 tapes and thought that Michael Collins might be the first comedian astronaut. And I go, I don't know about that. Somehow, Pete Conrad seems to inspire the comedy in everybody around him. So, and even Mission Control in this case.
Houston 12, can you give me a roll angle to stop PTC to do the rest mat alignment?
Sure, roll 12, stand by.
I think that thing puffing ahead of us must be a cooling tower or a power plant. Cooling towers are not exclusively nuclear power plants, by the way. And people often get wrong.
12, Houston, you can continue to do PTC during the alignment as you have before. If you want to stop, go to 270.
We'll keep doing PTC to save the gas.
Roger.
I was surprised there isn't a manifold pressure gauge. Oh, well, there's RPM there, but still. I think this is a Navy version. Do we need this right now? Do we?
The next.
And that was Sweepers Man Your Brooms on the bosun's pipe that was just played up to the crew.
Oh, yeah, there's a cooling tower puffing there. We're passing by St. John's Town of Darley. It's that town there, apparently. The colors are very vivid today on the ground. And that sort of village slash town is called New Galloway.
Houston 12.
Morning, 12, Houston, go ahead.
Okay, on the cruise status report, the CDR SNAP 9, the CFT 8, the LFT 8, the PRD CR 11013.
He's giving their sleep numbers and radiation.
LMP 04014. We cycled the fan, and we're back to the normal intercom mode.
Roger, 12, we copy. When you cycle the fans, could you do that for 3 minutes this time rather than the usual one, so we can get a little better hack on the readouts?
Okay, we'll go back and do it for 3. We just completed it for 2. We'll go back and do it for 3.
Roger.
Okay, we can see the coast there. And we're headed south, so we're headed over to the Isle of Man first. I think it's drawing from the belly tank first, and not from our internal fuel yet, because the fuel gauge hasn't changed. Out of that, the fuel gauge isn't working. So
Houston 12, can we start battery charge on Bat A now?
That's affirmative, 12. Go ahead. We also have a flight plan update when you're ready.
Okay. Okay, we're ready to copy.
Okay, first is, seeing as we have no MCC4, replace the flight plan timeline pages from GET 78 to 82 with the pages you'll find in the back. That's 6-7 to 6-9. And then you'll be picking it up again at page 3-58. At 7800, for no MCC4, delete, stop PTC, and continue PTC until 80 plus 50. This is optional. Insert, then at 80 plus 50, insert stop PTC at roll 300. And that's the moon view attitude in roll. And at 7945, would you perform a rendezvous radar transponder self-test to see if there was any effect on it during launch?
Okay, we got 8050 stop PTC at 379.45 rendezvous radar transponder self-test, and we have the proper pages out of flight plan.
Roger, 12.
the town directly in front of us there is Kirkcudbright. Finding all sorts of towns I've never heard of as we pass through, but now we're going to be
Houston.
head out over the Irish Sea.
Go ahead, Houston.
12, we have your consumables update and some comments on
some
your
chugging
P-23s,
here.
as well as a
I think it's loading
alteration
more
to
clouds.
your LOI aboard card when you're ready to copy.
It'll clear up soon, but apparently some sort of transition.
Okay, let's have the consumables update and all that stuff in that order.
There we go. It's okay now.
Okay, 12, consumables at 78 plus 15. RCS total 79.8, and alpha
Oh,
through
this is chugging
delta
again.
in that order 77.5, 83.4, 77.3, 81.2, and that gives you about 92 below the predicted.
Wonder why this has a very tight
H2
channel
total.
thing going here.
71.2, 69.9.
Oh,
H2 total
we're a bit shadowed.
70, I'm sorry, that's O2 total, 70.9er, 72.5.
Interesting thing.
Okay.
And 12, for the P-23 no-com procedures. Dick, your first sighting exercises showed an excellent performance, although the use of two different horizon locators resulted in quite different apparent horizons. The CMC horizon should be updated to 19 kilometers rather than the 24 for the NOCOM contingency. Change the erasable address 1351 from its present value of 27340 to 22434. Your second set of P23s done at about 1530 were excellent. Therefore, use the same locator as in this set. As you expected, the best results are obtained when the star is positioned precisely on the substellar point, when you're using only the center 2/3 of the sextant field of view, and you center the star on the locator.
Okay, we are departing Scotland here.
12, do you have those values for the erasable?
Okay, we got all of. Say again?
12, confirm you have the value for the erasable.
Okay, Houston, the address was 1351 and change it to 22434, is that correct?
That's correct. 12, on the LOI abort card, which you have in the checklist F13-2, your hybrid trajectory is a little different than nominal. Your TLI was slightly off nominal, and your curve for the LI abort is very sensitive to the dispersions in the TLI.
Hold it, Houston, so you get a good antenna.
Okay.
Hello, Houston, how you read?
12, we read you with a fair amount of static in the background. Let's wait till we clear it up before we proceed.
Hello, Houston, 12, how you read?
12, we read you now. I think the static's dropping off. We're ready to proceed.
Okay, so that's Scotland behind us, obviously, and behind the clouds, the Isle of Man. Not too far away. Still facing up against the wind right now. Check on the fuel, which I can't see from anywhere else but here. Well, I mean, I could go to the menu, obviously. But no, I'm a little bit high on the boost. We're going at about 200, well, actually 185 knots indicated
12,
airspeed, so
Houston.
not fast. Not fast at all, especially given the wind.
Go ahead, Houston.
12, a reminder would help if you turn the uplink squelch off.
Okay, uplink squelch going off.
Pete, we have a discussion of the LOI abort card when you're ready. That's in your checklist F13-2.
Once we reach the Isle of Man, we'll be more than halfway through the flight.
Hang on a second, Houston. Do you have the Bisky or the parking angles?
Stand by, Dick. Dick, we have them. Go ahead.
Okay, Houston, give me the page again in the checklist you were talking about.
Okay, Pete, that's your LOI abort card on F13-2.
I should specify this is a Spitfire Mark 9, actually.
Okay. And we lost you there. All I heard you
That's
say
fair.
something about the trajectory as you faded out.
Roger, Pete. There's a change necessitated here because your hybrid trajectory is different than nominal. Your TLI was slightly off nominal, and the abort curve is very sensitive to dispersions in the TLI. The curve itself should be lowered slightly, and we can give you the coordinates for 4 different points, and you'll
Whoa,
be able to
whoa.
plot that curve
Cloud
yourself.
reset.
Are you ready to copy?
Actually, a weather reset, that's why we wiggled. But we saw
Yes,
the
go
Isle of
ahead.
Man behind the clouds there for a sec.
Okay, the 4 points under LOI Delta V sub M. 400, 290, 135, and 60. Your corresponding abort Delta Vs. 2240, 2065, 1865, 1800. You copy?
Okay. Let's see, we had 4 points, 400, 135, and 600. And they correspond to 2240, 2065, 1865, and 1800. Is that correct?
Pete, on the one correction on your LOI Delta VM, your last one is 60. That's 60 rather than 600.
Okay.
Very deep blue on the Irish Sea right now.
Your CSM gimbal angles, which you'll see down in the lower right, are roll 295, pitch 271, yaw 332.
Okay, 295, 271, and 332.
That's correct. When you plot the curve over, you'll see that your crossover point for mode 1 occurs at 320 rather than 290 as shown. This would have to be changed in 3 places. First of all, the table which you have on the card, your first range goes from 290 to 650. That would now go from 320 to 650. On your flight plan, the value 290 is found also on page 3-59er. That would have to be changed to 320. Also, the LMP Q card should be changed, 390 to 320.
I suspect
All
there's
of the
some
other
bad
limits are
masking
unchanged.
on this coast here, and that's why we get this brown bit.
Okay, we got that.
That's not very good. It sort of kills the
Okay,
look
Pete,
of it
that's it.
a bit. Anyway, Isle of Man here. In vivid green today.
This is Apollo Control at 78 hours 30 minutes. The change of shift news conference in the Houston News Center will begin at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. 5:30 p.m. for the change of shift news conference.
The airfield there is Andreas Airfield. Doesn't look like it's functional right now.
12, Houston.
And the town up ahead
ahead.
is Ramsey.
12, for your information, after 6830, a little over 10 hours ago, you started accelerating back towards the moon. And you're now around 12,192 nautical miles out. And your velocity is building. You're presently going 3,911 feet per second. We have some morning news for you. The news of the flight of Apollo 12 continues to maintain worldwide interest, and your television broadcasts are getting priority preference on the local and network newscasts. There's a lot of foreign press here at Houston Press Center, and is expected to intensify as you get closer to the lunar landing. Incidentally, there's a new baby boy born to a Baltimore, Maryland mother at the precise time of your liftoff. His name is Charles Richard Allen. Wilson is her last name.
I
We
hear
have
a
some
joke
sports
in the
news.
background there.
And one of the leading items is that... Say again? Say again, 12.
Who did you say was first?
First name turned out to be Charles. Charles Richard Allen.
Pete Conrad's
Al, I
real
guess you
first
just
name
snuck
is
in there.
Charles. He's Charles Conrad. Charles Pete Conrad. He just goes by Pete.
We'll be back to you within a minute with the sports news as soon as we get a better antenna.
Okay.
Okay, the city up front there is Douglas.
12, Houston, we'll continue with the sports news when you're squared away.
Okay,
Check on
go
the
ahead.
fuel again. Fuel seems fine. That
News
gauge
reports
hasn't
say
moved
that
at all.
Notre Dame may be about to accept a bowl invitation. This would be for the first time since 1925. If it turns out to be the Cotton Bowl, they will undoubtedly play the winner of the Texas-Arkansas Southwest Conference Championship in Fayette on December 6th. Notre Dame has a 7-1-1 record, losing only to Purdue at the beginning of its season. Bobby Roseberg took an early lead and held on Sunday to defeat Jimmy Wright by one stroke in the $50,000 PGA Club Championship at the Roadrunner Golf Resort in Scottsdale. Results of yesterday's ball games. First in the National League, Los Angeles took Philadelphia 23-17. It was Dallas over Washington 41-28. Minnesota 9, Green Bay 7. Cleveland was over Pittsburgh 24-3. San Francisco 20 and Baltimore 17. In a close one, New Orleans 25, New York 24. Atlanta took Chicago 48-31. And Detroit over St. Louis 20-0. In the American League, Kansas City 34 and New York 16. Oakland 21 and San Diego 16. Buffalo over Miami 28-3. And Boston took Cincinnati 25-14. Houston and Denver played to a 20-20 tie. However, Houston really made a classic comeback in the last 11 minutes. They put 17 points on when they were down 3-20 inside of 11 minutes. First of all, right tackle Damaris scampered into the end zone after picking up a fumble and running 35 yards. Beathard then got one long bomb to Jerry Levias, which was over 80 yards. And at the last 3 seconds left, Girella kicked one field goal. Pete Beathard looked pretty good, especially in the last quarter, and especially on that one last long bomb. He laid it right into the hands of Levias.
I wonder if people listening to the tapes 50 years afterwards get some pleasure in hearing
And
their
Pete, one last,
team succeed
one last item.
50 years
Al
ago.
Unser won the Phoenix 200 race.
Roger, thank you.
Or otherwise get depressed when their team, even 50 years ago, sucked. I don't know. Okay, the airfield here is Isle of Man Airport, appropriately enough. And the town next to it is Castletown. And we are on to Ireland after this. Heading directly for Dublin. Can't really see Ireland from here right now. Must be a heck of an interesting place to live. Or completely boring. Probably not so bad in the age of the internet, but...
Apollo 12's present distance from the moon at 78 hours 48 minutes is 11,546 nautical miles. Velocity 3,940 feet per second.
That stray desert sort of looking island off of the Isle of Man is called the Calf of Man. C-A-L-F. Go figure. Is this a Polish Spitfire?
Flight Director Glenn Lunny and his black team is in the process of taking over from...
I don't know about these
Flight
markings.
Director
I
Jerry
just
Griffin,
never know
the
about the
gold
markings.
team.
No, the Polish had a square and still retain the more normal British markings
The
otherwise.
Capcom on the oncoming shift will be astronaut Paul Weitz.
Okay, hold on a sec, I am curious. So, what livery is this? It just says default. That doesn't help me any. There are a lot of liveries that come with this. Well, not this one anyway. Anyway.
This is Apollo Control. At the present time, the crew is scheduled to be eating breakfast. We don't anticipate a great deal of conversation from them. The change of shift press conference is scheduled to begin shortly in the Houston News Center. We will be taping any conversation from Mission Control with the crew during the press conference, playing it back immediately following. At 79 hours 2 minutes into the flight, Apollo 12 is at an altitude of 11,058 nautical miles from the moon, traveling at a speed of 3,964 feet per second. This is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 79 hours 25 minutes. During the change of shift briefing, we had one brief conversation with the spacecraft. Commander Pete Conrad came on to describe the moon for us. The spacecraft at the present time is about 10,113 nautical miles from the moon, traveling at a speed of 4,015 feet per second. We'll play back that tape for you and then continue to stand by live.
Hello, 12 Houston. We have a state vector and a clock update for you. If you'll give us poo and accept, please.
Roger, roger. Poo and accept. Boy, that moon looks big today, Houston. Thinks about the size
Well,
of
we can
a,
see Dublin on the map.
baseball held at arm's length.
Surprised there's so much haze that we can't see it
All the mountains
in front of us right now.
It's really a beautiful sight. We're starting to move on the far side of the sun from it, so we only see about an eighth of it. But that eighth of it is really stark. You can see, particularly up near the poles on the limb, you can start to see that it's not a nice smooth ball anymore. It's got some little ridges and bumps that would be mountains or craters if you could see them right head on. It's a beautiful sight.
Buzz, understand, 12. That's a good sign if it's getting to be look bigger.
On the other hand, the Earth looks like about the size of a quarter held at arm's length, which is pretty small.
Right. 12 Houston, we're waiting to get high bit rate before we send up that load. The reason for the delay?
Okay.
12 Houston, computer's yours.
Roger.
Well, assuming it's not lying to me, we're still good on fuel. We shouldn't have any fuel problems, really. Not on such a short flight, but I'm always paranoid, and I've had fuel problems with this Spitfire before, which is why I decided to carry that extra tank there.
Go 12.
Roger, you want to watch this rendezvous radar transponder self-test? We're about ready to do that anytime you are.
Stay standby. Houston, there's nothing meaningful we can monitor on that, Pete. Just go ahead with it.
Okay, it's in work. Houston 12.
Go 12.
I wonder why the water's like this. Seems like there's something wrong with it. Where are my waves? Seems very plain.
With it in operate on B, it gave us 0, and systems test indicator in C, unlock gave us 0.4.
We're not very high up.
12, understand. Thank you.
Anything else you need?
If you're finished eating, I got a Parasynthian +2 abort pad for you.
Okay, Al is ready to copy.
Okay, Parasynthian +2. SPS GNN. 624901. Plus 090. Minus 017. 085. 25. 1792. Plus 16010. Plus 15619er. Minus 34,981. The roll angle is NA, it's unconstrained. The pitch angle is 031. The remainder of the pad is NA. And that's no ullage, and course would be a dock burn. Over.
Okay, Houston, that's Parasynthian +2, SPS GNN 62491, plus 090, minus 017, 085, 25, 1792, plus 16010, plus 15619, minus 34981, NA 031, rest of the pads NA, no ullage, dock burn.
That's the Charlie, Al.
I think I see some hills of Ireland up front there, some sign of Ireland. Really, we're not that far away from the coast. It says about 35 nautical miles. Guess it's just really hazy out.
Apollo 12, Houston, I have some checklist changes and updates for you. If you want to break out your LEM contingency checklist and the LEM timeline book, please.
Okay. be with you in just a second. They're buried up here in I-3. We're going after them.
Okay.
Those hills are about where Dublin is, so just head there. After this, I'm sort of doubling back in that we go from Dublin to Manchester, and I'm flying an ATR 72-500, which is a regional prop liner. But the reason I picked that was because I have an Aer Lingus, an Irish airline livery, so it fit. So we'll go to Manchester, which is actually like directly behind us. In fact, as we passed over the Isle of Man, the Isle of Man is equidistant from Dublin and Manchester. So we could have gone the other way just as easily.
The LEM timeline book, page 6.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that's touchdown +32 through T2 abort. At the top left-hand part on about the 8th or 9th step down, there's a descent vent fire. You got that?
Yep.
Okay, insert after that. If the sheet pressure drops 15 psi, then close both vents.
We got it.
Okay, and Spence said he briefed you on before launch. Then we vent the oxidizer per the checklist and vent the fuel at 8 psi.
Roger, I am. We got him.
Okay, now we go to the contingency book.
We don't have that book aboard. It's in the LEM right now, but we'll take a note on a flight plan and move it over there.
Okay. Page Delta/Alpha 6, step 1. After the step which says guidance control to ping, add on the commander's TTCA, throttle min. The reason for that is if the engine is armed longer than 2 minutes, as it may be when you run through the rest of this check, if it's armed for longer than 2 minutes without the TTCA and throttle and 10%, you may damage the throttle actuator.
Oh, now we've got waves.
Okay, on page
Finally.
DA7.
We're not any
After
lower,
step 1,
so maybe
we
there
want you to
was
set
a
the lunar
bad
centered
patch
set.
of scenery back there that was obscuring the
you
waves.
do
I
that
don't know.
with a verb 25,
Nice to see the waves.
noun 07,
Very organic.
104, enter. 06, 000, enter. 1, enter. Over.
Maybe it was just because of the clouds scattering the light
Roger,
or something.
that's Bird 25 down 07 enter, 104 enter, 06000 enter, 1 enter.
That's firm, Al.
That's interesting if we have to set it then and we never have to set it during normal operations.
Okay, let me see if I can get an answer for you on that.
Also, the first one you sent up, we made the change in our activation checklist, correction, lunar surface
I think
checklist.
I'll just go for the
First
east-west
page to
runway.
reflect also the new vent pressures.
Roger.
Of course, I've had a flap issue. Don't know how that's gonna shape up.
Oh, 12, Houston, the reason for this, Al, is that in the normal activation sequence, that setting the lunar centered bit that you asked about, in the normal activation sequence, the ground uplinks the vector. And in the other stuff that they send up with that vector, they set this lunar-centered bit. However, the page we're talking about is the contingency for a dock dips burn. That vector is not sent up, and you will have to set this bit on board.
Roger, understand now.
It is good to note that the astronauts do ask for clarification if they don't understand why they're doing something, and that mission control does try to explain that. It's not like they just expect the astronauts to do X and don't explain why they have to do X. It's important that the astronauts, if they, you know, are out of communication, understand what's going on.
80 hours, 3 minutes. Apollo 12 is 8,642 nautical miles from the moon, traveling at a speed of 4,114 feet per second. The data transmitted to the ground from the Apollo 12 crew following the rendezvous radar transponder self-test indicated that there is no problem with that piece of equipment on the command module. The crew at the present time is running through some of the lunar orbit insertion checklists and checks for the maneuver, scheduled to occur at
I think I can see
83
some
hours,
buildings up
25
ahead there.
minutes into the mission. We have a TV transmission scheduled at 81 hours 30 minutes, which would be about 7:52 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Dublin Airport is actually pretty close to Dublin. Just outside the sort of ring road, which is
Apollo 12.
looks like the M50.
Roger, LIOH canister change number 7 is complete, and we're getting ready to pressurize the CSM and then the LEM.
LIOH.
And you verify the position of the oxidizer flow valve for me, please.
LIOH again is the CO2 scrubbing material, the lithium hydroxide, to clear CO2 out of the cabin.
Should increase.
Thank you.
Important in
It's
Apollo
in full
13.
increase right now, and it shows max in the window. It was in normal when we started the burn for the mid-course, and in the minute it started, I moved it to increase, and it finally made max by the time we shut down. So we're planning to burn in full increase.
Okay, thank you, Al.
So I don't think it was buildings I was seeing from a distance. It's this peninsula, or I guess is it? I don't know what it's called. That bump right there is a peninsula with Howth on it. H-O-W-T-H.
Big out there, Houston. It's about the size of a large grapefruit when you hold it about half arm's length. It's a monster.
Yeah, it's a good sign, Al. And Pete wanted a reminder I'm breaking out the monocular as you're getting in close to the moon there.
Okay, we've been using it pretty regular. We didn't know we were going to use it so much translunar, but it turned out to be pretty good even in great distances. And using it up close like this, the features are very, very stark, and I never really realized how high the edges of these craters are. These large craters are steep, and it's a pretty rough-looking satellite.
Hard to understand.
Say again, Houston.
Just roger for your transmission.
Houston, Apollo 12, the lamps pressurized.
Roger, 12.
We're just at 1,000 feet or so.
This is Apollo Control. That was Al Bean giving us the report on the moon. Commander Pete Conrad reporting the LEM pressurized.
I've trimmed the ailerons with respect to the flap issue, but I don't know if I can drop the flaps safely right now, or whether they're gonna cause more problems. So I'm gonna test that soon, once I slow down a little bit more. Still at about 140 knots.
Pre-LOI secondary ECS loop check right now.
Roger, 12.
Seems to be a little castle on that little island there. Is that right?
12.
Go 12.
Roger, secondary loop.
Okay, let's try flaps.
Flight caller map. Temperature is coming
Well,
down.
it's definitely listing to the
Including
left,
just
but
a
not
little bit
violently.
With the temperature coming down, and also the radiator is being filled up.
It's pretty persistent,
What do you
though.
think of it? Looks pretty stable to us right now.
I don't think I can use
Just
the
looks good
flaps.
here on the ground, Dick.
Dropped from a quantity of about. Yeah, dropped from an indicated quantity. We're gonna go ahead and secure it.
Right.
A little keep of some kind. And a rather impressive home there. Or castle, I don't know. What is that little island called? It doesn't have a name on my map.
Of a volleyball now at arm's length.
Right, you guys must really be closed in on it, huh?
Okie dokie.
This is the first time we've been able to look at it, and in the Mari area, up to now, it looked very,
Okay,
very
landing gear
smooth.
down.
But now,
Okay,
you
that
look at the
wasn't the
Mari
proper
area,
deploy,
you can
but
see
okay.
there's quite a number
That's
of
not the
wrong
model's
ridges.
fault. That's
And,
because I'm using this lever
what
for
have
the
you,
gear.
It bar you a little bit.
Wow, it's got a lot of drag because I'm not using the flaps. Ooh. Okay. In the cockpit.
12, Houston, you can terminate charge on Bat A.
Roger, terminate the charge on Bat A. Yeah, Houston, we're closing the moon fast enough now that every time we do a 360 and pick it back up in the windows again, you can see it grow quite considerably.
Roger, 12.
I don't know. Is that the runway? Does that look like the runway? Looks like the runway. Looks a bit uneven though.
This is Apollo Control at 80 hours 32 minutes. Flight Director Glenn Lunny has just gone around the room getting a status from all of the flight controllers for Lunar Orbit Insertion 1. A report from each is that we're on the flight plan, everything normal. Apollo 12 is presently 7,488 nautical miles from the moon, as we continue to see a rapid decrease in the altitude
I
and
don't think that's the
correspondingly
runway.
rapid increase in the velocity. In the next 3 hours prior to lunar orbit insertion,
Oh, okay,
the
no, that's
velocity
fine.
will just about double, going from
Okay,
the current
we'll make
4,213
it
feet
happier
per
by
second to
using
something on the
that.
order of 8,000 feet per second.
Yeah, that's not a runway. Where's my runway? Looked like a straight bit in the generally right direction, but not quite. Oh, I passed on the right here.
Okay,
Gosh darn
Houston,
it.
the next trip past 300, we'll go ahead and stop PTC.
Whoa.
We're just out of about 50 degrees roll now, coming around, and we'll stop PTC at 300.
Okay, well, we're definitely not hitting it on the first pass. Okay, this is the airport. Now, let me just do a normal pattern to line up with it. Okay, so that's the runway. Okay. So we'll just fly over it and come around.
Hello, Apollo 12 Houston. If you'll give us poo and accept, we'll send up your target load and your refs mat, and the last state vector is still good. We will not be sending up a new state vector.
Okay, you got it. Poo and accept.
Once again, that's program 00 to put the computer into idle, and then they have to set it to accept information instead of block information. So that's a runway 28, but where's my compass anyway?
Houston, Apollo 12.
Go ahead, swell.
Hey, another interesting thing is you look out on the Murray. It doesn't show so much from the maps that I've seen on Earth or the photos. There's isolated large mountains or hills or something scattered throughout the Murray. And in this low sun angle that we've got on the moon right now, which is about a little less than an eighth, maybe a tenth of the moon, they almost look like cumulus clouds at first glance because they're very bright on top and they're significantly higher than the Murray. And then when you look at it closer
Okay.
in the
Good.
binocular, you can see that they're just very high hills.
Roger, 12, understand. Hello, 12 Houston, the
He's
computer's
really
here.
working on that doctrine.
Say again what you're working on, Pete?
Never mind.
Oh, Roger, understand, yeah. He started a little early this time.
He won't. He won't let either one of us look.
Understand. Hey, Jack Schmidt's here. He wants to know how L spells Mari. It's a pop quiz.
Is that geology pop quiz you were going to give us the other day?
That's the first question.
He refuses to take it. He won't take it today.
Okay, if Al wants to do something worthwhile, I got a pad for him.
I guess Al's hogging the window again.
Thank you, Grant. Now we can look. Go.
Okay, LOI 1. SBS GNN. 624901. Plus 090. Minus 017. 083.
Look at the cars. Good times.
25.
Cars make me happy
1851.
in a flight sim.
Minus 28213. Plus 06036.
Whoa, I'm coming down a little bit faster than I thought I would. Well, the
Plus.
flap issue. So I'll be coming down a little bit fast.
124.
Oh, God.
002.
I'm
263.
a little bit off, too.
018.
Let's wait a bit. Wait a bit.
HA and HPRNA.
Okay.
28873. 558.
Oh. Come on. You can do it. No! No! Oh.
804.
Oh.
Sexton Star
Oh.
02.
Oh.
2540.
Oh.
380.
That was
The rest of
unconventional.
the pad is NA.
Miraculously, they seem to be still
TDC
intact.
stars
Sorry
are
about that.
Sirius 15.
That was
That's your Z-axis
really
star.
bad.
And Rigel 1,
But
2.
we're here.
The
Can I
angles
taxi?
are 134,
I think I busted the propeller.
230, and
Yeah.
357.
I think it's gone.
The LEM weight
Right.
is
Well,
33585.
I'm not doing that over again. we have arrived at Dublin. We'll have to get a propeller replacement. The gear seems alright. They would have told me if I messed that up. Or if I actually crashed.
STSGNN 62491.
Okay, I'm gonna pause right there. Okay, so anyway, that was a bit rough, but I'm never good at the tail draggers, to be honest. Next time, a little bit more of a easier flight for me. The ATR 72 from Dublin here to Manchester. And so, despite the rough landing, I'll say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.